Hello, welcome to the Daily Bible Podcast. My name is William Hemsworth, and thank you so much for joining me. Well, today we're going to continue on in Matthew chapter 21. We're going to look at verses 12 through 13, which say, "And Jesus entered the temple of God, and drove out all who sold and bought in the temple, and he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seat of those who sold pigeons. He said to them, 'It is written, My house shall be called a house of prayer, but you made it a den of robbers.'" So most of us have heard this story. We've seen the pictures. We've seen that famous meme that's been floating around Facebook the last couple of years that says, when people say do what Jesus did, and overturning tables isn't out of the question. We've kind of seen that meme. It's used to make various points. But I'm not saying they're valid. But anyway, regardless, it was not uncommon for merchants to sell sacrificial animals within temple grounds to the pilgrims, because back then there was a requirement, especially at the Passover, to come to the Jerusalem temple a minimum of once per year. And sometimes you may have had your spouse, you had your children, the rest of your family, other animals with you, and it just wasn't logistically possible to bring along the sacrificial animal or animals required for the temple sacrifice. And so the temple here provided that service. The merchants within the temple grounds provided that service. Now the issue here is that they grossly inflated the prices. It's kind of like during hurricanes where people start selling bottles of water for, $90 a case. Think along those lines. And so this obviously angered Jesus greatly, because these pilgrims, the merchants within the temple grounds, were taking advantage of something that was not supposed to be a profitable exercise. Selling temple sacrifices and exchanging funds for the pilgrims was a service, and it was not originally meant to be profitable. But these guys were making a ton of cash from it. So Jesus, as the divine Son of God, was upset. He was understandably upset. And here he cites Isaiah 56:7 by saying, "My house shall be called a house of prayer. You made it a den of robbers." And he said, as a result, those merchants, for misusing that privilege, were profaning the temple, because it's not a common marketplace where a businessman goes to make profit. It was a temple of worship. And the whole den of robbers comment is actually a citation again from Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 11. So here Jesus is kind of mixing. He's quoting two verses side by side. So I guess the question here for us today, what does this have to do with us? In our service to God, now there's nothing wrong with making money. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But are we telling, kind of put it in this perspective. If someone comes up wanting to know who Jesus is, are we saying, I'll tell you, but first, I need $20? No, we preach Christ, we preach Him crucified, we preach the resurrection, because it's the good news. We do it out of love. That doesn't mean that we can't make a living at it, because the authors do that, and there's nothing wrong with that if you're selling a product or service. But those same authors, you think of the best-selling authors out there, something like Scott Hahn, Dr. Brent Petrie, things like that. They teach for a living. They teach at universities. They're really good at what they do, and so people hire them to come speak. But they speak for free all the time on Facebook and everything else. As Christians, it's not, like I said, not wrong to make money, especially if you're given a talent. but we should not withhold the gospel regardless. So let's go forth today. Let's preach the gospel. Let's live the gospel to everyone. To everyone. Let's not make an unnecessary type of profit. Like as an author myself, I write books. I sell all my books for 99 cents. I'm not going to go and start selling it for $1,000 a pop. Or even if it's the last one available. It's just not going to happen because that's taking advantage. The main point, let's not take advantage of people. Those merchants in the temple were taking advantage of the pilgrims. Let's love. Let's not take advantage. God bless you all. Thank you for joining me. Catch you tomorrow.